The two-piece sleeve for doll clothing is a little bit different than the two-piece sleeve for human clothing. Because of the way doll clothes are constructed, with the underarm seam and the side seam sewn in one pass, we're going to preserve the underarm seam in our two-piece sleeve and introduce a back seam as a design element. A human two-piece sleeve has both a front seam and a back seam, and the underarm seam is actually conflated into a single piece so that you have an under and an over sleeve. But in our case, we're just going to use the back seam as a design element and preserve the underarm seam. Next, determine the location for your back seam. If the back of your garment has a design line that goes into the armscye, such as a princess seam, use that pattern to determine the start point for your design line. Then, draw it in straight down the length of the sleeve. Cut around your pattern and slash along your design line. Tape small pieces of scrap paper along both edges of your slashed design line. Then determine the desired height and depth of your vent. Because we're working with an American girl who's a little bit bigger, we're going to do a 1/4 inch deep vent that's an inch high. Draw in your vent on both sides of your design line. Add extra paper and draw on seam allowances along both sides of your design line. Then, fold the front of your sleeve back along the original design line so that the vent laps towards the front. Line up your sleeve and cut along this edge to determine the correct angle for the seam allowance. Add seam allowance to the rest of the edges to finish. And here we have an example of a finished sleeve vent that was patterned using this method. In this jacket, which has a two-piece sleeve, you can see we've matched up the design line to the princess seam in the back that enters the armscye.